Hola, it's me, Jolene, and I'm back with another video, and this is, I guess, officially my first video on my new kind of road that I'm going down of being maybe more palatable and more educational. And I thought, what better way to kind of bridge my old content into my new content than answering the question, does size matter? If you are a fan of my other content, you will be familiar with the fact that I tend to only perform with men that are larger, down there. The reason for that is just that it reads better on camera, it's easier to film, and that's really it. It's more just an aesthetic thing. But I have been known to be a bit of a size queen, so I'm probably the person to answer this question. And I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about when it does and doesn't matter, and if you should be self-conscious, and what you can do about it if you are self-conscious, what your options are. Thinking about, like, does size matter? It brings me back to a hookup that I had years ago. This was when I was like really in the swing of being a size queen, and like that was all that mattered to me. And I would always ask, like, how big is it? How big is it? And normally everyone was always honest, and I never really ran into this issue. However, this one person did tell me that they were quite large. They sent me photos. Those photos turned out not to be photos of them. And when they got there and, it was time to shine, they did in fact have a micro penis, which was kind of the opposite of what I was looking for, and that really infuriated me. At the time, though, I was still quite young. I would have been about like 19, so I didn't really feel comfortable being like, hey, you're too small for what I'm looking for, get out. But the real issue was that I was like lied to and tricked into this situation. So I think in situations like that, size does matter. If that's what someone is looking for and you're telling them you're something that you're not, and you're putting them in an uncomfortable situation where they may be vulnerable, that's when it is actually like a huge issue, because you could just be honest and you could just find someone that is okay with what you've got to offer. But on the other end of the spectrum, I was seeing a man who was maybe too large, and in fact he did tell me a story about one of his previous girlfriends, that she was having all these complications, there were all these issues going on, and what was happening was he was actually penetrating the cervix, and so she was falling pregnant frequently and then also miscarrying because of how large he was. So there are two ends to the spectrum where you can really be too small for what the person is looking for, or too big for what the person is looking for. So it really just pays to be honest. Now, if you're wondering, like, is my size normal? Is my size okay? Is my size going to be satisfactory? I did just want to go over some facts. So mostly, like with most men, and I have quite a bit of experience in this field, if I do say so myself, when it's soft, it's soft. It tends to be smaller, and for most men, it does tend to be around the 1 to 4 inch size when it is flaccid. So if you're looking at yourself soft and you're like, it's like not so big, or if you see someone when it's soft and you're like, oh, it's not so big, like, what the hell? It does change. Sometimes it can expand by 3 to 4 times in size when fully erect. There's also other factors that come into play, like drugs and all of that. But generally, so when it comes to micro penises, only about 6 out of 1,000 men actually have this, and that's anything up to 2.8 inches. So if you're like comparing yourself to porn and you're thinking that in that comparison you're a lot smaller than what you're seeing, as I said earlier, the reason for a large penis on camera is purely aesthetics. It's easier to film, it's easier to position, all of that kind of stuff. So really don't compare yourself to that. But anywhere between that 2.8 up to about 7 inches is the average man's size. So anywhere in there is pretty normal. Now, the female and the male G-spot both are only 3 inches inside the body. So anything beyond that is really going to you know, get there and be satisfying. And even if you still can't reach that, there's other ways to be pleasurable. Now, some of your options that you do have in kind of helping you with any, I guess, insecurity about your size, if you do feel like it's not big enough, there are injections that you can have, like filler, into the penis to make it bigger, make it larger. You can have surgery, you can have a fat transfer, and there is also penis pumps, which I'm sure by this stage everyone is aware of. I have seen some things go wrong with penis pumps, especially overuse. It can break the blood vessels and cause a lot of damage, so please be careful with all of those options. But generally, just kind of learning to love your body is the best thing that you can do. As I've said, there's a whole range of penis sizes, and one isn't necessarily better than the other. It's just about communicating. If it's a hookup situation, if that is something that they're looking for and you aren't meeting that need, well, then you just cross them off the list and you move on. But anyone that is wanting to be with you for who you are, the size really isn't going to change that. And that's kind of it. That kind of wraps it all up, to be honest. There's no right or wrong. There's no perfect either. So try not to be too self-conscious, but if you have any other questions, please comment below and I will try and respond to everyone. As I said, I have a lot of experience in this field with many shapes and sizes, so I'm sure I have a lot of knowledge to offer, but hopefully that kind of answers all your questions, and hopefully if you were feeling insecure about your size, hopefully this clears it up a little bit and you can be a bit more confident moving forwards. But if you want to see more of this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.